Alright guys, I was just about to go out and do some work, and Star Citizen, Inside Star Citizen drops. Boy, they've been early lately. Let's jump into it. Let's see. I have no idea what this one's about. Let's see what it's like. Let's break it down, and then I can go and do some work.
The public roadmap on the robertsspaceindustries.com website is the place to check out the new features, locations, gameplay systems, and technologies currently being developed for both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. But as with all things in game development, there are gaps, small breaks, quick moments when a single developer is forced to wait for another dependency to be finished before work on their primary or even secondary tasks may continue. Now, these happen at every game studio on every game project in development, but the stories of what fills these in-between moments, or ninja missions as animation director Steve Bender referred to them on last week's Star Citizen Live, are rarely if ever shared. Now, with the team heads down focusing on bringing Alpha 319 with its new content and continuing performance fixes to live servers within just the next 2 weeks, and the staggered development of Alpha 320 already well underway that we'll be exploring here as early as next week, we hope you'll indulge us this week, as we thought we'd dedicate this in-between ISC to one of those in-between tasks that get so often overlooked. One developer's work between tasks to build a sequel, an expansion, and a potential evolution to the Grey Cat PTV buggy tracks to fill additional convention centers when big events like Invictus aren't running.
I get there's racing and there's a big racing community. I get that. But for me, I'm so lethargic to racing. I really, really am. I just don't care about it. It's just, like I say, look, it is what it is, but I just don't care.
So here's Stefan Damrow with an update to his one-person crusade to bring more fun to Star Citizen's original, first-ever working vehicle. It's true, my hangar module peeps will remember.
So for the first raid track, we thought of an interesting way to kind of fill up the convention center when there's no conventions happening there. So Martin kind of did this track for the Orison Convention Center with this kind of neon advertisement filled space and this track which you can race on with your PTV. And later it was kind of handed over to me to kind of just wrap it up, do the bug fixing and kind of just iron out the small problems so it can go live. And so our first racetrack was this kind of dark, moody space filled like up with neon advertisement lights, very kind of commercialized space around the racetrack. So kind of after wrapping up the bug fixing of the first track, I moved on to some other tasks, but turned out that they kind of had just a bit of downtime in between, so we thought it would be a nice idea to just kind of make a second racetrack, since we have multiple convention centers, so there's definitely some space to fill there. And I started to build this second racetrack kind of using the base that Martin built for the first one. So it's still a work in progress, but let's take a look. So for this new track, obviously we want to kind of keep it different and create something new to give a bit of a different vibe compared to the previous one. So we took the same basis, which is all the racetrack pieces, but just kind of adjusted the stuff around it a bit. So first thing you notice is obviously it has kind of a different dressing around it, different style. So this one is this snow-filled environment, since this one will be...
Don't get me wrong, it looks cool. But I'm not lining up to race. And I know this is completely selfish of me to say, but there are so many other things they could probably be working on besides racetracks. Like, you're going to tell me the same guys that do this can't do anything else of 1,000 things that people have requested? And I get it. Look, there's a racing community. It's not my jam. I get that. But it's just like, I don't care. I just, But like I said, it's not my jam, and it might be others. So who knows?
Placed on New Babbage, we thought it would be cool to kind of reflect that also on the interior a bit, and just kind of get a bit of a different mood. So also the layout in here is different. So you still have the main hall where a lot of the racing takes place, but then you also move into these side sections, which we have usually for conventions. So we have this other big room here to kind of play around with and use the space to also create a bit of interesting section for the track. So from here you kind of just circle back into the main room again. We have this nice interesting circular room where we definitely want to put something eye-catchy and cool here, since it's kind of a prime spot for that. So you drive around here, and then it just leads you back into the kind of main hall again. So since I already mentioned the idea for the thematic dressing for this came kind of from Microtech, but also instantly ideas of how we can use this setting kind of popped up in my head. So for example, as you can see, this is this very kind of hazy, cold, bit foggy space, and thought it would be cool to potentially kind of use some areas maybe to take a bit of vision away from the drivers and kind of use it to make it more interesting. A lot of this stuff is still kind of in the very early idea phase, so not everything in here might necessarily kind of end up in the final racetrack, but this is just mostly just throwing some ideas out there. Another thing kind of associated to this dressing would be these kind of icy patches of the track. So on these ones, actually your vehicle has different grip on the surface, so it's all a bit more kind of slippery, harder to drive on. So you want to be mindful if you drive over these patches. So for this area, I just mainly tested it out. So we want to obviously kind of keep it a bit more localized later to certain spaces and to balance it out so it doesn't feel just unfair and taking control away from the player too much. Another thing, an idea would be these icicles, which could either be just kind of a visual dressing element, or maybe we could in the future physicalize and actually make interactable for the players, so they could reach down further into the kind of area where the people drive, and then you could crash through them and kind of break them apart while you drive there.
Hey, Steven.
Yes?
Adding obstacles, that's like driving a Grey Cat is hard enough. You don't think this is plenty challenge already?
Yeah, well, actually we got some other stuff in mind, which might make it even a bit more challenging. Let me show you what we got over here. So these are obviously all still in a very experimental stage. So these are for now just ideas which might or might not end up kind of in the final racetrack. So these ones are basically just these kind of moving obstacles, which make it a bit harder to navigate and drive around. Additionally, we have over here some stuff for example, this one would be an idea that you kind of have this lift section on the track just to kind of make it a bit more interesting. So obviously you want to kind of make it onto the platform, be fast enough to race on, because otherwise you'll kind of just have to wait until next time the piece goes down for you and lets you go up there. Then another idea would be here, this kind of little jump pads. So if I just get into the PTV. So as you drive over it, it just kind of throws you up into the air a bit. That could be something cool potentially. Let's see. Over here, this could be basically just some moving pieces of the track. So it's either like this ramp going up and down, maybe even leading onto different sections of the track, or this piece which goes sideways. Obviously, you need to think about the implementation there a bit. This little kind of obstacle here, which gives a bit of a warning before it comes up and kind of blocks off this section for the player. This little moving obstacle, which just kind of sort of drives on the track for a bit, making it a lot harder to navigate around, and then eventually just kind of goes off again. Could do some boost pads maybe, so just if you get into your grey cat again. Drive over it and it just kind of gives you a little boost. Then potentially some not quite 0G but a lot less gravity involved jumps over ramps, so you could get sections of the track where the gravity just is a little bit turned down, so you get like bigger and longer jumps.
And you've been doing this in your spare time between tasks?
Yeah, so this is kind of just an in-between task while there's downtime on the kind of bigger, more important stuff. And again, like it's important to mention that the last stuff you saw is very much still kind of just in the idea phase, so it might or might not end up like on the next track. And it
depends if they get sued by Mario Kart. They're obviously very heavily inspired by Mario and Mario Kart and that sort of stuff. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it, but like I just said before, it's just not my jam.
Kind of just more serve just as a starting point for a discussion also with the other departments of how easy it would be to implement something like this. So it's synced on servers between players, so they're actually seeing the same thing happening at the same time, and it's not just like localized to one player's machine and it's completely in a different spot for someone else. Thanks for watching. I gotta get back to my real work now.
So what did we learn this week? We learned that in-between tasks are where individual developers can contribute fun and off-the-wall ideas to the game while waiting for dependencies to resolve. That one of the many ways this manifests is with quirky buggy racetracks. And that Stefan Demrau, sole architect of this endeavor in his downtime, may have a rather sadistic side I hadn't anticipated after seeing some of those moving obstacles. Most developers do. Now remember to keep an eye out for Alpha 319 with its mining updates, salvage mission modules, tractor beam improvements, new Loreville, continuing performance improvements, and more as it makes its way through PTU into the live testing environment in the coming weeks. There's Invictus Launch Week immediately after that, and possibly some Jumptown thrown in the mix somewhere between now and then. I probably should have paid more attention in the meetings. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share our weekly behind-the-scenes look at the process of game development with you. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
It's not May the Star Wars Day. Star Wars Day is the 25th of May. May the 4th is just a Disney holiday for it. Like I said, guys, look, as for Inside Star Citizen, it's not really my jam. I get that. You know, there's not everything that's going to be. Yeah, look, I like the tracks. They're cool. But, like I said, not my jam. I don't know. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you have a burning desire to go racing, or do you think at the end of the day you're just not interested? I really, really like to know, because like I say, it might not be my thing, it might be everybody else's, who knows? Like I say, there is a big racing community, and I get that. I get the thing they're putting it in. No, and don't get me wrong, it's cool. It's cooler and interesting and stuff like that. But it's just like... Cool. Yeah. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Apart from that, guys, have a great night. Enjoy yourself. I am going to go out and make some money. Have a great night and enjoy.